Okay.
Yes, I know you missed me.
Okay.
Just hit
There
the
you go.
OK button when you're.
Okay.
Continue button.
Continue. Okay.
So basically, what we'll do is.
What is it? Oh, okay. Basically, what is it doing now? What?
So what it's going to do is it's just going to record. Somebody's probably just going to record.
Okay, we're going to wait for everyone to come in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hold on for a
Thank you,
second.
Avery.
Welcome. You got to lock your door behind you.
I am. I'm cutting right. I'm coming. I'm coming.
How are you today, Diane?
Going crazy, but otherwise I'm fine.
Love you.
Bye, baby. I
don't
love
know
you
if you're
too.
crazy.
Avery, how you turn the volume up? Oh Lord. I hate this thing.
Volume button. This is to turn up. This is to turn down, and this is mute.
Okay, wait a minute. This is turn up.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Well, I might have turned it up too much. Okay. Okay. Whew, okay, let me lock the door. I think so, honey. I think so.
I
Thank you.
think she's got it together. No, I'm going to be at a retreat that weekend too. So
Okay.
I didn't realize when I booked the retreat that it was the same weekend. Well, I actually booked the retreat first. And then when I saw the weekend, I didn't realize it was the same weekend. So, yeah.
No, that's okay.
So, yeah. Hi, Adam. Hi, Laura.
Hey,
Hello,
Laura.
everyone.
Okay. Come on in here, Duchess.
How are you?
Really enjoying not being sweating.
Really? Were you outside today?
Well, we don't have air conditioning, and so the house, you got to manage it when it's real hot, and we can, but
Yes, you
it's
do.
still hot.
Yeah, it's hot. Yeah. Hey, Donna. Yeah, I understand
Hey,
that, surely. Yeah, I hear they got these little small portable ones that you can get.
Yeah, we got
They're supposed to work pretty
that we
good.
turn on in emergencies. We've got like the safe room.
The safe room. I like that, the safe room. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Good
I
morning.
went out of town and came back. I don't usually turn mine on until June, no matter what. And I come back home from being out of town, and my son had turned it on already. I guess he forgot, or didn't get the memo, or didn't care. And I was mad at him for about a day till it got to 90 degrees. I was glad. Yeah.
It was
I'm
air
like, okay,
conditioning
Dad.
weather. He was right.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. But he's that I want it now generation. So it was going to be on no matter what. So it was fine. Hello, Mr. Price. Welcome to the
Good evening,
Civic
everyone.
Association.
Can everyone
Yeah.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Price. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you
I
for
would-
joining us for being out of town.
Yes, I am. I would ask your indulgence. My wife, my father-in-law passed last week. His funeral was yesterday. I'm in North Carolina, trying to finish up some things, the house, all the things that go with that. So I
Well,
would
thank
beg your
you for
indulgence if
joining
you
us.
allow me to go first. I'm actually sitting in the parking lot of the library. They have no Wi-Fi in this area.
So,
So
yeah,
I'm
we
at the
can get you
library
on.
using
Would
their
you
Wi-Fi.
trade places with them, Chris?
I would
Oh, yeah,
greatly.
of course. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll get you on right after the icebreaker, sir. Okay? Hey, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, I guess we can get started as people are joining.
Okay.
Is everyone
got-
amenable to that? Okay, great. We have enough people to get started. So I just want to welcome everyone to the Wyland Park Civic Association meeting. I'm glad to see you all. I know it's pretty hot outside, and I know everybody wants to just chill and relax, so I really appreciate that you took the time to come and be a part of the Civic this month. We have a pretty full agenda, but we'll try to move everybody through. So having said that, we're going to get started with our icebreaker that Diane Dixon has so graciously taken over for Conway when they move. So,
Okay,
go
the
ahead, Ms.
icebreaker
Dixon.
for this week is, what was your first pet? What did you name it? And why did you pick it?
That's actually an easy one.
That's a pretty easy one. So shall I just pick people and we'll just go through? How about I'll just start tonight. Well, my first pet that I remember as a child was named Oatmeal. I have no idea why they picked it. He looked like a Cocker Spaniel, so I have no idea why they named him Oatmeal. The first pet I had as an adult was named Topaz, and she was a Chow Husky mix, and she was all black on the outside, but had a gold chest and face. She looked like a topaz, and she was probably the best dog I've ever had. So that was why. Okay, how about you, Chris?
My first pet was, I had 2 hamsters, and one of them, its name was Casey because my grandma had a dog that looked like Lassie. So the hamster sort of looked like that dog, so I named it Casey. And the reason why I got hamsters was I knew that they were small enough that if I bought them sort of on the fly, that my parents wouldn't be able to do anything, and I'd be able to keep them because I wanted to have some pets.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Laura, you're next. Going in order as I see you.
My first pet that I remember my parents got, it was a bagel. It was a bagel named Beagle, a beagle named Bagel. But the first pet that I got to pick was a really sweet, sort of long-haired tabby cat, brown tabby cat named Sophie. And I just picked it because I like the name. She was a sweet
I
cat.
like Sophie. Nice. Okay. Donna, how about you?
Okay, so growing up, we had numerous animals in our house, ducks, rabbits, and dogs. But my first pet that I picked on my own was a doggie. And I fell in love with her because she was gray and she was a mix, and her name was Cleo, after Cleo Lane.
Nice. Cleo Lane, nice.
You know
Okay.
you know who that is, don't you, Tanya? Okay.
You better believe it. Sure do. All right. How about Adam?
Our first dog was a Cocker Spaniel, and we got it. It was a midlife dog, so we didn't get to name it, but it was Lady Indiana Jones. We call it Indy for short.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to plug real quickly because I'm at the branch and I have to close us tonight, so I'm going to step out in a minute. But we are expanding occupancy. We've got soft seating, 4 study rooms open. I'm advocating to get the High Street entrance open. That is a decision that's made outside of this building, but hopefully that will be sooner than later, and hopefully we can start seeing even more customers come back. So it has been good seeing everyone, but that's the end of my icebreaker.
Well, thank you, Adam. It's really good to know, and I'll pass it along that you're expanding and opening soon. Okay. Thanks. Hey, Michael Woodcoast, first pet.
My first pet was a German Shepherd that my dad bought in a bar for $10. And my mom didn't want anything to do with him, but she got to name him, and she named him Rocky because her favorite TV show was The Rockford Files. And they became inseparable, and he was a great dog.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. Tyler?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on that. My first pet that I remember was our dog, a little Yorkshire Terrier named Roxy, because we liked the name Rocky a lot from Rocky and Bullwinkle, the TV show. But we ended up getting a girl, so we just changed it to Roxy.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Okay. Mr. Price, would you like to be in our icebreaker? The first pet you had, with the name and why?
Well, actually, to this day, I have never had a pet. My daughter, and she's now 30, has been harassing me since birth. But having said that, I did grow up next door with a family, and you know how sometimes you grow up with that family, you become part of the family. And they had a dog, and his name was Laddie, and I kind of grew up with him. So I kind of claim that as my first and only pet that I've ever had.
Okay. All right, Laddie. Good to know. He was a surrogate pet. Okay, how
That's right.
about Susan? Hi, Susan. Did you hear the icebreaker?
I'm sorry, having a bad hair day, so I apologize for being off camera. But yeah, I did hear that. Like Mr. Price, my dad didn't allow us to have pets. I didn't get my first pet until I became an adult. And it was a dog named Kiki. She was an Australian Shepherd. Yep.
Nice. Those are beautiful. Well, thank you. And phone number 905. Who is that?
That's me, Matt Adair.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, our neighbor's dog is named Kiki, actually. But mine was a Boston Terrier named Keisha, and my mom's family has had Boston Terriers for like 100 years, so it's kind of a family tradition.
Nice. Okay, cool. Great. Thank you. And Miss Dixon.
I don't know what the dog was, but I know it was named Snowball because when she balled up, she looked like a snowball. And that was my brother's, who was handicapped, his favorite dog, who followed him everywhere.
Oh, wow. Snowball. Cool. Was she white like a snowball?
Just like a snowball.
Oh, nice. Okay, great. Well, that was everyone. And that was a great icebreaker. It takes you back to your childhood or your a fun, warm and fuzzy place. Thank you very much, Diane, for that. So now, as promised, we're going to introduce you to Mr. Larry Price, who is here, bless his heart, under some very strenuous circumstances. Hey, Pastor Roby, and he's asked that if he could go ahead and be on the agenda a little early. So we're allowing that. So he wants to talk to us about the Columbus Community Sports Park. Go ahead, Mr. Price.
Thank you. And again, you can call me Larry, and it's good to see so many friends. Susan, I've seen you, I think, with a semi-bad hair day. My good friend, Pastor Roby, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while, and so many other friends. Thank you for allowing me to present early. As I stated, for those who were not on the call, my father-in-law passed last week. He lives in North Carolina. The funeral was yesterday. We're trying to get all the things that you have to get done, house, furniture, all of those kinds of things straight. So, but I felt it was important to at least try to get on and share with you what we're doing with the Columbus Community Sports Park. I'm excited about it. As you know, and Pastor Roby, the crime in our community has gone up. 15-year-olds killing 15-year-olds, the amount of homicides. They need a place. First of all, they need jobs. And second of all, they need a place to go to be able to play basketball or football or whatever, some type of recreational. So I'm excited about what we're trying to do with the Columbus Crew Stadium. Our purpose and need to create a park and recreation space around the historic Crew Stadium that's adjacent to the Ohio State Fairgrounds. Hopefully it will benefit neighborhoods, the city, and the region. The geography is between Interstate 71 and East 17th Avenue and Hudson Street, right in the inner city. Again, I was at the Afrocentric high school last week. My granddaughter plays softball, and that's the first time I had been on that campus. That is a top-rate football field, softball field, track field. They were holding the city track championships when I got there. I say that to say what? I am excited that we will have that type, if not higher level of recreational space in the inner city for our youth. The Columbus Crew area, the stadium itself, it takes about 25 acres. So there's plenty of room to do a lot of different things. What are the benefits for the neighborhoods? It's a once in a lifetime opportunity to shape new green space, park space, and recreational programming. Over 200,000 residents live within 3 miles of the site. As we know, Wyland Park is one of them. Linden, North Columbus, Glen Echo, Milo Grogan, University District, Clintonville, and others. And again, Wyland Park, Linden literally is in walking distance to this hopefully new Columbus Community Sports Park. Benefits for the city. The city, it shall serve as a facility for youth and adult sports and provide more spaces for citywide sports and recreational programming. The benefits for the region, we're going to create a first-in-class tournament grade sports and recreation facility to grow Columbus as a destination for regional and state tournaments and events. A lot of times I've heard over the years, why doesn't Columbus, we're right in the middle of the state, why don't we host high school championships except for Ohio State University when they allow us, and state track meets and state wrestling meets? And the only reason is that we've never had a top quality first-in-class tournament grade sports and recreation facility. We will have one within our community. Hopefully withdrawing of that, it will boost spending on local hotels, restaurants, and other attractions. There'll be two primary components. One is organized formal sports programs, and the other is informal sports and community park spaces. Organized sports program would include our multi-use wood courts. And for some of us, Reverend Roby, Pastor Roby, we know we used to play on concrete and asphalt, and some of our knees are paying for it to this day. We will be providing multi-use wood courts with wood floors. Indoor field space. When it rains, I sponsor a little league football team, have for years. This will provide us with indoor field space. So if it rains, sleets, whatever, that they will be able to have their games inside versus outside. Meeting rooms and classrooms. What does that mean? Wyland Park will be able to meet in the facility once it's created to hold and host your meetings. And we're going to include also a rock climbing wall that someone said that they thought would be an addition to it. And also have concession areas, tournament level synthetic turf fields outside. For those of us who, again, who grew up playing on vacant lots with all kinds of things in that lot and tackle, this will be a tournament level synthetic turf field on the outside for our children and those adults also to play with. We'll have mixed use grass fields, basketball courts on the outside. And again, additional green space, outdoor courtyards. And for somebody who was the chair of the picnic committee for Tri-Stone Baptist Church for over 20 years, picking a place to hold a picnic to make sure it has enough space. This will have open shelters and picnic tables, so we don't have to drive to Blacklit and to the ends of Livingston Avenue to host a picnic for our churches and anybody else for families, reunions. It will be right here in the inner city. It'll also have walking and bicycling trails with exercise stations, playgrounds, and or a splash pad and a skate park.
Wow.
How do we plan to promote this? Through social media, through emails, through websites, through earned media, and then also what I'm doing with you now, sharing presentations to commissions, civic associations, faith leaders, and area nonprofits. And so that is some of the things that we've thrown out as we sat around the table. But what I said to them early up in this process over a year and a half ago when they asked me to work with them, I said to them, do not bring us a finished, us meaning our community, Wyland Park, Linden, Clintonville, do not bring us a finished product. Let us have input into what that Columbus Community Sports Park will look like. Let us have input in what we think, not only basketball courts and a field for football and potentially soccer, but there's some other entities that we can share and make sure that that space is being utilized for. That was over a year and a half ago. Now that the crew is pretty much set in terms of downtown, what did we do with that space? One, that it will be a practice field. The soccer field will be a practice field for Columbus Crew. Two, that soccer field will be used for small concerts, but it's 25 acres. So it's more than enough rooms to create classrooms, to create picnic areas, to create basketball courts and soccer fields and football fields. So we're excited about the potential of having something of that magnitude right here in the city. I'm going to open it up for questions now. I've shared a lot with you, but those are just some things we thought of. Turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you so much, Larry. I really appreciate you saying that, but I don't know if I missed it or what, but are you saying this is going to happen, or this is what you propose to happen and maybe you need our help to make it
Good
happen?
question. No, initially we sat around and said, what are some things that will make a Columbus Community Sports Park? And the basketball and the football and the soccer are all things that obviously were obvious to making a Columbus Community Sports Park. What we're saying, though, is that it's not cast in stone. We want to hear from you. And let me also share with you, we'll be doing community outreach engagements, such as meeting with Wyland Park from May through June. But we're also asking you to complete a survey. And unfortunately, I'm in a car. I'm not at my normal computer with access to everything. I would have did a share screen, to be honest with you. But let me say this. I will send to you, Madam Chair, the survey link so that you can send out to your members. I ask you in that survey, make sure, I've done this at least 7 times now over the last month, and we've had suggestions such as swimming pools, such as an area where gymnastics, where one can train. My daughter took gymnastics from 4 years old till college. And I wish to God it was some places that did not cost me as much to have her trained to be a gymnastic. So somebody threw out a potential opening space for a gymnastics, a swimming pool. We're open to your suggestions. So no, it is not cast in stone. These are some obvious things that a sports park would have. But what are some of the things that we have not thought of so nothing's cast in stone? I ask you, I beg you actually, because I told them, do not do anything till we hear from the community. So I'm going to send you that link. Again, I apologize for not having my normal. I would have had a share screen with the link on it, but I will send it to you, Chair Long, and then you can get it out to the members and then respond to that link. Say, this is what I like to see in our, and I do mean our, Columbus Community Sports Park. We'll report back to you in the middle of the summer once we get all of the information of the survey. So survey is supposed to be up for 30 days, started last week. I'll double check on the time frame of that, but the sooner you respond, the better. What I don't want to do is beat them up and say, I want to make sure that our community has input on this, and then you don't respond. So I beg you to respond. So don't wait till after it's done and say, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they build that? Why did they have this over? No, you have an opportunity early up to have input on this.
Well, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it would be an awesome place for the community youth to gather and to take care of, their sports needs, and to be able to have a place where they can go and just kind of feel like it's theirs, but also as a community at large, and the areas that it's open to is pretty wide. So I really appreciate that as well. So, okay. Any more questions? Laura Dibble?
Yeah, who's going to administer this? I'm wondering about how you're going to prioritize different people who want to use it, and I'm thinking in particular of our elementary school that was built with no dedicated green space for the school. It happens to kind of be next to a park, but does that mean that schools that are built without green spaces get some kind of priority, or, how does that get figured out?
Laura, excellent question. Again, that's why I'm so happy about this survey. Put that, if you will, to me. I made a note of it, but you put that and respond to that survey, because that's an excellent question. We do not want to not allow our children, and it's primarily focused on children, make no mistake about that, as a sports park. But I hear you loud and clear in terms of making sure there's a balance there. Without a shadow of a doubt, the city of Columbus Parks and Recs will be, the ones that operate this. So that's the good thing, because we can put pressure on them. When it's a private entity, i.e. Soccer Columbus Crew, we can't tell them a whole lot what to do with their own property. But by Columbus being the overseer of this, we have one, the opportunity to have input, but two, to constantly check them. So if something's not going right, we can call the mayor, we can call city council, we can call Shannon. There are a variety of folk that we can get directly to, and the director of Columbus Parks and Recs. So excellent question. Make sure you put that in the survey. I'll try to capture it here as one of my notes to make sure that we do not make sure that the Columbus Public Schools has access to this, making sure that the administration is right, and making sure that it's fair for everybody. Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm curious. I think it's great being repurposed. I'm curious if the financial resources to repurpose the existing MAP-free stadium complex is in addition to the $140 million of public money that has gone in to support the downtown stadium. I'm additionally concerned if this is a Parks and Recreation financial obligation to operate, while many of the parks that Columbus currently operates are not very well maintained. And how can we ensure that the existing parks are maintained when there's dead trees and overgrown landscaping and grass is often not cut?
Michael, again, excellent question. You know, I know that there is a meeting taking place because we have to lease the space. There was great concern from the community at the beginning of this. What will happen, one, to the stadium? Two, if we're going to build downtown, what benefits will there be to, and when I say community, I'm talking about Wyland Park, you know, Northland and Southland, and those areas that are directly claimed with almost walking distance. So when the discussion came up, it was let's make a sports park top level, tournament level that our community can enjoy. So I need you again, because I can't say it like you. You said it well. Make sure that our other parks, one, are not suffering, is what I kind of heard you say. The parks that are not being taken care of, will they suffer even more because we're shifting money into this at the benefit of them? So that's what I got out of your question, but I need you to couch it in that survey. I made a note of it. I'm gonna say it like I just said it because I think that was the essence of what you were saying. But excellent question again.
It's really true, because Michael's remark makes me remember what my neighbors who have lived in Wineland Park for decades talk about. What used to be in our Wineland Park, our park, used to have a shelter house, used to have tables, used to have place to store equipment, you know. And so it's interesting thinking about our neglected park still being the way it is now. No tables, no shelter, you know, not a lot there. No bathrooms, you know, for the sake of this new park that's tournament level, but we have an elementary school. So how are we going to get in the tournament, you know? Like,
Right. Let me say this, Lord, to respond to that, because again, I hear you loud and clear. Some of you know that my background, I'm a former special assistant to Mayor Coleman. So I'm used to addressing city issues, but I'm also a former state representative. I'm a former aide to a congressman. So I hear you loud and clear in terms of what you're saying. I said, but let me say this. I think the commitment, while we say tournament level, because again, for years we've said why, because Columbus is in the middle of the state, why don't we host a lot of the state stuff? We never had a tournament level, but I don't think, and I'll double check this so that you heard me say it, I don't think that our children will be neglected at all, because the tournament level just simply means the court is a certain size, because it has to be a certain size to do a state high school basketball championship. The football has to be a certain, those track has to be a certain, those kinds of things have to be certain. So that's what we mean by tournament level. But be clear, that does not mean that our children cannot use it. And y'all heard me say it, and I will come back. If that's wrong, I will come back and say it's wrong. But right now, that's not the intent, at least from the meetings that I've sat in. The intent clearly, and I said to them, was let's make sure that children, period, Linden, Wyland Park, Clinton, whatever, that's close in proximity, can literally walk or take a bicycle and get together and play football on a turf, not a lot like I grew up playing on, and play basketball, potentially on wooden courts with fiberglass. I remember fiberglass was a big thing. Robert, you ought to remember that. Fiberglass backboards were a big thing back in the day. So those kinds of things they will be able to play on that they would not have been able to play on before.
Larry, do you have an idea?
Yeah, I'm just saying if it's different. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just asking, do they have an idea of like when they intend to like break ground and start this development?
It's supposed to take between 18 and 24 months to build. The last piece to the puzzle, I'm sure some of you have read. I'm surprised that nobody asked me about the lease agreement that the state owns part of this property. The city owns part of the property, and the crew has been leasing it. So now, in my understanding is the meetings have gone quite well. That's why they asked me to go ahead and proceed with the outreach, because they're saying the meetings have been very positive with the state and the city. Hypothetically, so I can't quote this because I don't know this to be sure, but lease agreements, I think soccer, the crew signed a lease with the state. And again, I'm not 100% on this. It's like for 75 years for some small fee. And that's what really the city is trying to do also, something along those same lines. But, you know, so far, everything that I've gotten is said, you know, that the negotiations are going quite well. So they're proceeding on.
Larry, Michael Wilkos asked a question in chat here saying, what is the budget for the Columbus Sports Park, and will this come from the City of Columbus capital budget and impact the city bonds?
I can't answer all of that. I do know that it's coming from the city. It will be under Parks and Rec. That's what authority will be. I think the initial conversation started out with who would be trying. We want to build such an animal, quote unquote, in the inner city for our children, especially with the crime rate being the way it is. So it ultimately fell under the city to try to put together the pieces. And I know one of the pieces is the negotiation again with the state to get the land. 2, that Columbus Parks and Recs will be responsible for. So it will be coming under the city of Columbus. 3, I will take that. Tanya, send that to me again. I apologize. I'm in my car, so I'm not in my normal desk with all of that things that I have. I'm making notes. I will follow back up and get the answer to all of that. Back to Tanya, she will send it out to you. What the budget looks like.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any other questions?
That's a good question.
I do implore you all to take the survey when it comes, so your voice will be heard and you will be able to be a part of the building, the plan, and be able to just say what you want or don't want to happen. You know, that's the most important thing. So I implore you when it comes to please take the survey. Okay, Mr. Price.
And I'm going to
go ahead, sir.
I'm gonna do 2 things. And again, not only what you want and don't want in the park, but I think those who ask those very relevant questions about the budget and will it impact other parks in the city, I think those are relevant questions that need to be asked in the survey. Like I said, I took notes of it, but they're going to analyze that survey. I'm going to say this real slow so that everybody that wants to write this down, the survey, I'm going to say it real slow. It ain't super long. So if you're ready, HTTP:// BIT dot LY / CCSPSURVEY21. Now I'm gonna say it real quick this time. HTTP:// BIT dot LY Y / C S P S U R V E Y 21. Okay. Everybody good?
All right, I just pasted that in the
All
chat
right. Well,
too.
Yes. Thank you, Chris, for putting it in the chat box, but also please make sure you.
thank you, Chris.
Okay, thank
And
you.
then
All right.
I'm gonna send this PowerPoint presentation to you, Tanya. If I have not, did I send
Okay.
it to you? If not, I'm
No,
gonna
you
send
have
it to
not.
you. Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna send the PowerPoint presentation to you, and then you can send it to all our folk.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
You know I'm in North Carolina, and it is hot.
Yeah, I know.
It is hot in North
I
Carolina.
know, right?
Trust me, it's hot.
Well,
But thank you.
We don't want to torture you any longer, and thank you for taking the time to come on. And my condolences to your family. And
Thank
please
you.
know that we will do what we can to help and be a part of this process.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone. Just ask for your prayers.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right, great. So next, go ahead, Chris.
All right. I should be pretty brief, but just to let everyone know, we are wanting to resume our nonprofit talks with the Columbus Legal Aid. So Tanya and I are resuming some of the efforts that Omar and I had started up under the prior leadership. So what that will entail is an amendment of our bylaws, and then we'll come to the civic once those documents have been drafted. Laura and Omar had, recommended previously to the Columbus Legal Aid that we put the terms sort of plainly, that we don't have complex legalese when we approach our residents. So we want to make sure that the bylaws are written in a very plain sense of words, so that when we approach the civic in the future, in the summer, that people will be able to understand and allow people to vote yes for us to be tax exempt. This will bring us some opportunity as campus partners, and some of our other former funding partners wanted to bring the responsibility to the civic to pay for, when we had our in-person meetings, we had, childcare, we're paying for pizza and food. So, as things start opening back up and the civic becomes a bit more active and having events, we want to make sure that the grant money that we have stays, within like a nonprofit that has become larger, that we wouldn't have any potential tax liability. So we're still waiting on the Columbus Legal Aid folks to come back to us with some finalized documents, and in some future meetings, I'll keep you guys updated. So what will happen is, in one of the future meetings, we'll present the documents, and then the following meeting thereafter, we'll take it on a vote. So that's all I have for now. Did anyone have any questions?
I want to thank you for picking that back up. I know that was a lot to keep the balls in the air during the pandemic and all that, but I think it'll really help us to be able to be independent and hold our own funds.
Agreed. Tyler/Matt, or you just have a clap like yay? Okay. Any questions? All right, back to you, Tanya.
Thank you, Chris. Great job. And yes, we want to make sure we keep that going for the good of the Wyland Park Civic. So at this time, then we will go to Laura. Please. Joyce Hughes Park update. sorry for the little one. She's vocal tonight.
She has a lot to say. The Joyce Hughes Park, you know, that has two different committees kind of meeting about it. And the design committee met, was it 2 days ago? It sounded like it would probably be our last committee, and some of Joyce's, just one member of Joyce's family that was there. But what they did was share with us the landscaping plan for the park, and everyone who was there thought it seemed good. There's going to be some oak trees and some maple trees and some hydrangeas and some roses, because Joyce loved roses, you know, according to her family. And so that all seems nice. And so I think we pretty much said that looks good. They're still putting together bids and trying to get everything sourced, like the lights and the benches and stuff like that, to put in. But they're hopeful that construction can start in 4 to 6 weeks. One of the nice things about the design that I don't know if it has been communicated is that there's going to be electricity run throughout the park that people can plug into, and there's no concern from Wagenbrenner about paying for the electric bill, and the HOA also is getting used to the idea that it won't be a crazy expense. And so I think that's going to be a really nice feature of the park. No more like wrangling with the city to try and get the electric turned on in Wineland Park, which it never is. So that'll be good. So what I asked is, they're still making some last adjustments to that landscaping plan. And I asked if, once they get those done, if he could send me a sort of summary, couple of PDF pages of the design that we can share more broadly with everybody in the neighborhood. So I'm hoping that that will be in the next couple weeks. And Tanya also made the great suggestion that they make a sign or two with paper printouts of some of those documents to post near the park, so people can actually see when they're around there what's coming up. On the other committee, the sort of rules and legalities sort of committee, we sent our draft of some rules that people seemed to think were reasonable to the NCA, which is ultimately going to own the park. And they got back to us and said that until they actually own the park, they're not going to even give us feedback on what we sent them. And they don't anticipate the ownership transfer happening until August at the very earliest. And so that's kind of why we shared out the rules, even though they're just rules that we voted on so far, because we don't want there to be misunderstandings about what people think is acceptable behavior in the park. We now have a group of probably 10 or 12 residents who have talked about those rules ad nauseum, and we want everyone to start to get a little bit used to them also, so that we don't have people calling police or getting in fights about like what isn't okay in the park. We want everybody to be looking at the same set of rules. And so Chris has generously volunteered to get those posted on the Civic Association's website, so they'll be digitally available. And there'll also be some information there about how to contact if you want to get in touch regarding participating on further discussion on the rules. Although honestly, speaking for myself only, we had a lot of debate about those rules, and some of it was heated. And so I kind of like to not reopen the whole debate about the rules until we've had a chance to try and use the rules for a little while and see what turns out to really be a problem, is my feeling about it. But people will have their thoughts. So we're slowing down our meetings with the Rules and Legalities Committee until that ownership transfer looks like it's a little closer to happening. We're going to start doing a little bit of planning for the dedication of the park, which it's starting to look like will be late summer or fall. And we'll keep everyone posted about that. Any questions?
Ms. Dixon?
I do. One, I asked, could I have a copy of the rules so that I could put them in the welcome packet, and also a map or a general idea where this park is going to be, so I can also put that in the welcome packet.
I think I sent you the rules that we had, but I'll send them again.
I don't know how to get stuff off the computer, so if you're doing it that way, that don't help me at all.
Tell
if
me
you send
mailing
it to me,
address.
I will get it. If you send it to me, Laura, I'll get it to her.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I may have them, but if you just straight send them, I'll know, and I'll give them to Diane.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Will do.
Thank you. Is that cool with you, Ms. Dixon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Awesome. Anyone else with any questions? Awesome. Is that it, Laura?
I have
Yeah.
one more little thing that was not on the agenda, and that was because I talked to Rory today, and he's basically working out of town most of the summer, but he did attend. He's still our representative on the Short North Parking. I don't even know what they call it, benefit district advisory group, more or less. It's the group that was put together to advise the city on how to spend the money that comes in from metered parking in the Short North under the new parking plan. And they had a meeting this afternoon that he just attended virtually. And he said the word that they wanted to share out to people was that there's very little parking in the Short North going on during the pandemic. And so the money that they had anticipated coming in from these parking meters, et cetera, is not coming in, which means that they have not had the funds to even hire the level of enforcement that they anticipated, that they had budgeted for. And so what they have found, what they are starting to hear from people is that because there's a lack of enforcement, especially after 10 p.m., that people are starting to, as they put it, develop some bad habits about their parking practices, especially overnight. And so the message that they wanted to send out to folks was, if you are in one of the Short North parking permit areas and you notice stuff going on that doesn't seem to be conforming to what you think the parking district's supposed to be, they ask that you report that to 311. And that's the way they said they're starting to try and put a couple of the enforcement folks on flex time so they occasionally can work overnight and start to get people to park the way the plan says they're supposed to park. I'm no expert in any of the details of this, but Rory asked if I could pass that along to everybody.
Anybody? Any questions or comments for? All right. Well, thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. Appreciate your report as well. Next, we're going to go to a update on the Subcommittee on 7th, Peerless Development. We've asked Pastor Roby and Michael Wilkos to both give us an update as they see it. Pastor Roby, would you like to go first?
Good evening. I'll just be very brief. We the church representatives, we had a meeting on Monday with Peerless Development. Had about a 2-hour meeting. It was very productive as they answered a lot of unanswered questions and concerns that we had. And so we have a better understanding of what it is that they're trying to do. And we made an agreement with them to continue to have those conversations and to continue to get a better understanding of what they would like to do and what potentially is going to happen. And so we've made that commitment to continue to do that. And so at this time, we're optimistic that we'll continue to have that open dialogue and that they'll continue to be open and honest with us, even with some of the difficult questions that we asked them on Monday before the subcommittee meeting happened. They were very upfront and honest with us, and so we appreciated that. So we're just going to continue on in this process and continue to attempt to have an open mind hear what is being said, and hope that when we do have concerns and questions, that they'll be addressed. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Michael?
Sure, I'll look to Matt. I echo everything Pastor Roby just said. The committee's been meeting weekly. We've got an independent facilitator. We decided to add a few more meetings to the schedule, and there are issues that continue to need to be addressed. Residents on Euclid still have concerns about massing and scale, and Peerless walked the alley with residents on Euclid so they can get a better understanding. But still several additional things to work through. So hopefully we can continue to work through those issues week after week and come to some greater clarity. And Matt, I don't know if you want to chime in, but next week's Wineland Park Housing Committee, because there was not additional items, we've turned the Housing Committee meeting into an additional meeting to go over continued agenda items.
Yeah, I'll need to basically send an email out that cancels the housing committee meeting then, because we don't want people attending the subcommittee unless they're on it. So I'll do that.
Right.
But the goal of the whole process is to reach an agreement and create an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and have the civic and the church and the developer sign it. So that's what we're working toward, just in concrete terms.
Yeah. Awesome.
That, you know, has already substantially changed. They've pushed the parking deeper into the ground. They've eliminated a floor off the building. They've continued to do setbacks on different sides of the building. Issues from parking to setbacks to how it interacts to the street and the alley. Many changes have happened and more changes will likely come based on the process. So it continues to advance.
Do you guys have like any meeting minutes that you guys are taking with these meetings?
Yes.
Are they recorded, Matt? It's recorded, isn't it?
No, it's not recorded. Thank God. The agenda is like a developing working agenda. So like we don't have meeting minutes, but everything that's being said is being captured. And I guess it'll be shared at the end. Yeah, there's no reason, we're not going to hide it, you know, but it's basically everything we're talking about is going to be in the MOU if that's successful.
Yeah. And we have a really great facilitation with Kathleen. So I'm sure it will be captured in some way or form. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. If anybody else has anything else to ask or any questions or statements that they want to make?
I have a link to share for the City Council Redistricting Commission.
Is this part of your housing committee? Is this part of your housing committee update? Because you would be next on the agenda, so you can just keep talking.
I don't have any updates, so I suppose this would be it.
Okay, go ahead.
But it's City Council.
Can I speak up for just a second before we move on? I just want to thank everyone who's putting the time into doing this subcommittee related to that development. I can imagine how much work it is. I know how much work it is, and I really, really appreciate everyone being willing to put that time in to do this as a community. So thank you to you guys, everybody.
So yeah, City Council, it's really complicated. It's basically going to have residential requirements. So some of the council people need to live in a certain area, but they're not elected based on where they live. It's just they have to live in a certain area. So anyway, they're doing public outreach for that right now, and they're asking people how they want those districts to look and what values and what considerations they want in basically the boundaries of those districts. So there's a survey out. They're doing meetings around the city right now, virtual meetings. So I encourage you to take it and put whatever you think is important. Basically, you know, I just put it's important for us to be, you know, with the university area. I think we're kind of a community of interest, you know, so it's pretty simple. I just encourage you to take it. That's it.
Give me your update.
All right, great. So please do take the survey. I know it may sound like we're survey rich tonight. We may be, but it's important.
Oops.
You know, these surveys are put out so that we can make informed decisions and we can have a voice. You know, I'm big on having a voice and be able to not so much control, but be a part of what builds us as a community, right? So that's the most important thing because one, knowledge is power. Two, as a collective group of people, we get a say in how we and where we want to live and how it looks. So I think that's the most important thing. You all that know me know I love living in Wyland Park, and I just think it's so cool how we can come together and kind of drive this ship on what our community looks like. So please take the survey. Okay, so
I forgot one thing.
yes, I'm sorry.
I forgot one thing, Tanya. I
Go
think
ahead.
I think you wanted me to tell everybody that we're moving at this meeting. Yeah, so Tyler and I are moving to Montreal, Canada in August. I'm gonna do a PhD program in urban planning. So we'll be gone for 4 years at least, and we're excited and really scared and anxious, but you know, Wyland Park's been foundational to me and my research interests, and my program will be based a lot on what has happened here since I've been here for 10 years. So we're excited, and we'll always have a special place in our hearts for Wyland Park.
Oh, have you
I'd
been
like to make
there
a motion.
yet?
Sorry,
Have you been there?
I've been there twice, and we've been there once together.
It's wonderful. So yeah, now we have somebody to come visit too. So
Yep, in the summer.
I think Laura said
what were you saying, Laura?
I would just say I'd like to move that we erect some gates and forbid anyone else from leaving this neighborhood after August. Like you guys may have squeaked in under the line, but I'm over these moving announcements.
Oh,
I know, right? Right. We will miss you guys, and hopefully we can do something together outside before you all leave to show you our appreciation for your contribution to Wyland Park and as our actual neighbors.
Well, at least when they're moving out of the neighborhood, they're moving to another country. So it's not like they just moved to another neighborhood. So
Right.
Yeah.
They're spreading the joy internationally.
So how do you take the survey? How do you take the survey?
There's a link in the chat, but if you're not, I don't know if you can see the chat really.
Can you send it to me, Ms. Thompson?
Yes, ma'am. I'll print it off to you. Is that okay? And then send it to you guys. I'll print it off. She'll take it and I'll send it to you guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Sure. So Georgina is not with us tonight for her safety committee update. However, some of you may or may not know, but Officer Smith, who has been our liaison here in the community for some time, is retiring. Did you all know that? Anybody here? He is retiring, and he was spending most of May on break or spending up his time. So his PTO or whatever. So he's not even around. And then by the time he gets back, he'll be doing whatever, and then he retires. So he did send that out to me in an email, and just said that he's enjoyed being here with you all, and that he just really wanted you all to know that he loved it here in Wyland Park. So he did send, he said he doesn't have any insight to his replacement at this time or how long it may take before a new officer takes the position. He told us to keep up the good work, stay safe, and watch out for each other. So that was real sweet. Anyway, I will keep you updated, and maybe Catherine will be able to come on, Catherine Cole, and talk to us a little bit more about that as well. Okay? And I'm sure they'll have somebody in the interim, in charge of being our liaison and patrolling the neighborhood. Any questions about that? Okay, so Chris, you want to talk about the acknowledgement of graduating seniors?
Sure. We had two seniors that were graduating in the neighborhood. One was Georgina's. Was it both of her kids?
I think
If
I'm
it's
not
one,
sure if
it's
it's
both.
both. I think it's one, and it's two of the sellers.
So we have.
So those are the ones we know.
Yeah, we have 3 total graduating seniors. So we're gonna send like a little gift to them, like a cash type award, just commend them for their achievements. So we'll. I think Tanya, you're gonna go to Georgina's. Are you gonna go to her graduating party?
Yes, yes. We just think it's so important that the youth, children and youth know that they're an integral part of this community and that they matter. And I want them to feel free to come to any one of us if they have a problem or an issue that we could help them with. Like one day I was out by Michael's house. I don't know what I was doing that day, but a young man knew me through Julia Orban. He was the guy, one of the foster kids she had. And I think she still has his sister. And he asked me, he said he was stranded and he needed to get across town. And he said, you don't remember me, but I live with Julia. And then I remembered him and I gave him a ride. And I thought that was pretty cool that he felt safe enough to approach me. And I really want the youth in the community to feel like they could come to us, because so many times they feel alone. They don't feel like anybody understands them or has any regard for them. And I want them to know that they're visible. We see you and we're here for you. And so this is kind of our way of saying that and kind of creating those kind of ties and bonds with the children and youth in the neighborhood.
Yeah, this was an especially hard year. I couldn't imagine, when I was in school, we just started using computers, but it wasn't, a majority of, our teaching. So for us to have to do things virtually back then, I don't think it would have been possible. So, we certainly
happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we commend, the students that had to go through school with this, very difficult time. Not everyone has, reliable internet or fast internet to be able to do things virtually. So it made it incredibly difficult for a lot of kids to get through these times. So for kids to graduate now, I find that pretty a big achievement.
Yeah, so we're recognizing them. So, any questions about that? Comments? We will just present them to them. So, and I will let you know. We'll take pictures or something and post it on the Wyland Park discussion, right, Chris? Okay,
yep,
great.
We will do that.
I think, yeah, from the Wyland Park Civic Association. Hey, Steve, your timing is impeccable. I knew Steve was coming on if you all didn't. He has an announcement he wants to share with us, and hope you all give him your attention. Go on, Steve. And then Michael Wilkins is next.
All right, well, thank you. I assume everyone can hear me?
Yep.
All right, good. First of all, it's great to see you all. Because of COVID, I just have not been participating in many of the activities in Wyland Park, and I do miss my friends there. So I'm learning how to use Zoom, and it's not as good as meeting in person, but it's great to see everybody. I'm a member of First Congregational Church downtown, and my congregation is one of 41 faith communities that are part of BREAD, which is building responsibility, equality, and dignity. It's a social justice organization of communities of faith that's been in Columbus for 25 years and works on local issues of social justice. Last fall at our annual BREAD Assembly, we agreed to work on issues of police reform. And a research committee was established, and I joined that committee to look at what could be done in terms of very practical steps to deal with issues of the lack of trust between the police and particularly communities of color in Columbus, issues of excessive use of force, and the unfortunate shootings that have occurred involving police officers. We had the annual action assembly in early May, in which brought together 500 people in a parking lot at the First Church of God, and there were about 2,000 people who participated in the gathering over Zoom, or I guess over Facebook or YouTube, in any case, participated virtually. And what we did was as the results of the research committee was 3 initiatives that we asked city officials to undertake. The first one is a reconciliation process. We think fundamental to building trust between the community and the police is an acknowledgement of past harm done to the community by inappropriate policing. And that reconciliation process begins with an acknowledgement of that harm and then tries to build on that to bring people together and build a level of trust. What we asked the city to do was to engage consultants with experience in doing this reconciliation work with police agencies and communities around the country. At this point, Council President Hardin and Council Member Elizabeth Brown have expressed support for reconciliation process. We had a meeting earlier this week with Craig Stone, who's the Deputy Director of the Public Safety Department for the City of Columbus, and he agreed that a reconciliation process was a good idea. We hope over the next few months to work with City Council and with the City Administration to move that idea forward and to get the money appropriated to be able to begin a reconciliation process. The second issue was a proposal that the Division of Police participate in a program known as ABLE, Active Bystander for Law Enforcement. It's a program developed out of the law school at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. And what it involves is training police officers to deal with peer intervention. So when they see other officers or they see their superiors acting inappropriately or illegally, they're willing to speak up, step in, take action. As it stands right now, the Division of Police does have policies that require officers to speak up when they see wrongdoing. But the challenge is getting people to actually do that. And this idea of training people with peer intervention has already been used successfully in the medical field, where, for example, nurses get training so they feel empowered to speak up when they see a surgeon or another physician who may be doing something in error, but feel empowered that they can speak up. It's also been used in the airline industry. So we think, again, it's not enough to have a policy in place that requires intervention. People have to be trained to actually follow that policy and begin to change the culture. And the third issue that and again, we've talked with Deputy Director Stone with the Public Safety Department. He agrees that this type of training would be useful and is going to set up a meeting when the new police chief is hired to have us meet with that police chief and make the case for the Division of Police getting the training. And the third issue is the city developing non-police response teams to community situations and individual situations. We don't need police officers, armed police officers, responding to issues of homelessness or a drug overdose. Instead, we think that if there were teams that might include a social worker, a medic, and also a trained peer intervener who has lived experience with some of these issues, that would be much more effective than sending an armed police officer into those situations. The city of Columbus has begun to experiment with teams of social workers, medics, and police officers responding, but we're concerned that in many situations, an armed uniformed police officer can, whether intentional or unintentionally, can exacerbate situations rather than calm them down. So again, this is something that we learned from Council President Hardin, that this is a priority for him, that we develop an alternative response team for Columbus. And one of the challenges, though, is that there are some programs out there like NetCare, which uses mental health professionals to respond to some of these situations. But these various initiatives in Columbus are not well coordinated, and we think it needs to be done through the 911 system so that you have trained operators who take those calls, have the appropriate training to know whether a situation requires a police officer or whether a non-police response team is more effective. So these issues won't totally solve the problem, but we have to begin somewhere. And I think these are very practical steps. And I'd be glad to talk with any of you further offline about the background to these issues. The BREAD Research Committee met using Zoom meetings with more than 25 experts, both locally, around the state and across the country to come up with these proposals. So again, thank you for your time, and I'll send it back to Tanya.
Thank you, Steve, for sharing that with us. And it's really great information. I'm very interested, and I'm looking forward to see what happens and comes of it, and some way, hopefully, can be a part of it. Any questions or comments from anyone about what Steve just shared?
Has BREAD been involved with any, with meeting or talking with anyone about the current finalists for the new chief position?
Yes, BREAD representatives were invited to meet again over Zoom with some members of the mayor's staff to offer some input just last week after the public meeting that the mayor had to introduce the 4 candidates. I was not a part of that meeting, but the BREAD folks did offer some input on that. I will say that the folks who've been involved longer than I have with BREAD on the police reform were disappointed that the mayor did, in the last time the police chief was hired, that he hired the internal candidate rather than the external candidate. And one of the persons we did meet with in developing these 3 proposals was the other candidate who did seem like he had a really good grasp of the issues. And he was being considered this time around, but it turned out he wasn't one of the 4 finalists.
Does BREAD have any, I mean, endorsement might be too strong of a word at this point, but did they want to share any of those observations publicly about what they thought of the finalists at this stage?
That's a good question. I did not participate in that meeting, and I'm sorry, and I don't know, so I don't know what was said. I don't think BREAD had no intention of being in a position of recommending that candidate or that candidate, but I think was simply responding to what they saw and what they felt. I think BREAD focused less on the specific candidates than on the qualities that they feel is needed in a new police chief, such as understanding this issue of reconciliation, that there's got to be an understanding that there needs to build trust in the community, and you can't build that trust until you go through a reconciliation process process that acknowledges past harms. And so having a police chief that understands that would be an example of what Brett would see as critical.
Okay, anyone else? All right, well, thank you so much, Steve. We really appreciate it coming on, and it's great to see you as always. And hopefully you can attend. We're thinking of having our next meeting outdoors, so hopefully you can attend that. Okay. Next, Michael Wilcox has a very fun announcement that an event is coming up, and I'll let him tell you all about it.
Great. Thank you, Tanya. I actually have two things. We'll start with the fun event. To the earlier conversation about people being vaccinated, wanting to get back out and build community, I've been working with the master gardeners who have been maintaining the berry patch at 4th and 11th. It is looking good despite some of the challenges we're having with irrigation, which has been resulting me wheelbarrowing water in jugs to hand water strawberry plants to keep them alive. Hopefully Mother Nature will cooperate tomorrow. But we are soon to have a huge, huge harvest of strawberries, and we need people to eat them. So June 19th is Juneteenth, and we would like to have an event for Juneteenth that is also a way for us to build community and give away lots of strawberries. So through the kind of beautification work and the master gardeners, we are proposing an event on Saturday, June 19th from 2 to 5. We have all these pint containers, so people just need to come during that 3-hour window. We can pick berries for people if they can't pick them themselves, but people can pick berries and they can leave with a whole bunch of fresh strawberries. I would like to request $150 from the Civic account to purchase little strawberry sponge cakes and Ready Whip. We want to do a blind strawberry taste test where we'll have Kroger strawberries and organic strawberries and strawberries right there from the field. People will be able to vote on which ones they think are the fresh ones from the field. We'll have a poetry competition. Thrive is going to buy gift cards from Kroger for a first place, second prize, and third prize for poetry. I will bring the folding tables and I will bring the pop-up tents from Campus Partners. So we'll have some shade that we'll create. Kids will have coloring books and can do things. And we'll do it from 2 to 5. Probably the blind strawberry will be at 3 and then the poetry at 4. Those details to work out. What we'd like to do is do a little flyer and tape it to the doors of the CPO properties that are near the berry patch and also the folks that live there on 11th Avenue to make sure all of the people who live closest to the site, because that's the easiest for them to come to the site, and then we'll promote it the rest through social media. So again, the $150 will go for bottled water, ice, the sponge cakes, and the Ready Whip, and we'll have I think the Kroger gift cards might be $175 and $50. I'll have to confirm that. That's going to come from Thrive. So, what's nice about this event, it'll be over 3 hours. It's not a very big space, but we don't need very many people to come to make it lively. When we're there on Sunday afternoons, weeding and mulching beds, it's amazing how many kids come over to that site and how many opportunities we're able to show kids how to take care of berries. If you haven't been over there, there's blackberries, raspberries, lots of strawberries, elderberries, but the strawberries are doing great and we don't want to have those go to waste. So that's the proposal for the 19th. Questions about that? And if not, I would like a recommendation for the $150 budget to have our first event in a year and a half.
Treasurer?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Michael, just let me know if you want me to write a check or if you want to be reimbursed or whatever the logistics are.
Yeah, and if I go over the budget, I'll just do it out of my own pocket, but we estimated the costs. But we have, like I said, I've got the pop-up tables. I can borrow the tents. We've got coolers here, so it's a pretty low lift, if you will, for an event. And if you haven't been by the berry patch, it does look really good. And we have just been so lucky that the group of master gardeners have adopted that space, because we just wouldn't be able to maintain it without. If there's no other questions about that event, I do want to share with everybody that UARDB did meet this evening. Previously, I had shared a letter that received unanimous support from this group, that then the University Area Commission also unanimously voted last month to basically deny Kroger's appeal. Kroger was given a zoning code violation based on the commitment that they had when they built the Kroger store. They had to have at least 60% of the high street frontage needed to be completed. They had 36 months in which to complete that. That expired in July of 2014. So they're now 7 years out of compliance. So Tanya did sign that letter the other day. It was awesome because the University Area Commission, Denison Place, and Wineland Park all signed the same letter on city letterhead, basically appealing denying Kroger's appeal, and UARDB also voted tonight to deny Kroger's appeal. So all 4 of those entities will now go to BZA, basically telling Kroger, if Kroger doesn't want to build a building there, they're going to have to pay a fee, a fine, or maybe they'll have to landscape it, or they'll have to come back with another plan to do something. On a personal level, I'd be happy if they just filled that grass lot with some trees and made it a nice little spot. But a dead grass and weeds with trash doesn't serve anybody. And it is in violation of zoning.
I said a doggy park, but whatever, something.
Anything other than trash and dead grass. So just wanted everybody to know that all 4 entities have voted, and that's now in the hands of BZA.
Any questions or comments?
I think they need more parking, especially handicap spawns.
Well, any change I'd like to recommend, what this does, Diane, is it starts the process where what Kroger currently has is in violation. And if they want to do something like add more parking or add a pharmacy that has a drive-up window, I mean, that's another, I'd be happy if Kroger honestly built the building, occupied the building, made it a pharmacy, and allowed people to have a drive-up window for prescriptions. But the bottom line is what they have is a violation, and they need to do something, and they need to come back to the community to have that conversation. Or I know
anyone else
with this for a long time. I'm sure you have a thought. No thoughts from you, Laura? Okay.
Nope.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Michael, for that. Thank you for being on it and sharing that with us. So next, our announcements of a community garage sale. They were actually piggybacking on the annual garage sale from the Short North. They decided to go ahead and have it this year, the annual Short North garage sale, which I loved, and I missed it last year. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss it this year. But there's Wyland Park has decided to host one the same day. So you can transition from one or just stay in your neighborhood and put some stuff out and make a little money, meet some neighbors, have a little fun, get outside, get rid of some things that are gently used that you really think others might enjoy or benefit from. I think it will be really nice. We do have a flyer put up on the Wyland Park discussion board forum, and we have flyers, and we're just distributing them so everyone will know what's going on. Diane, do you want to say anything else about it?
No, I don't have anything. It's just from 9 to 3, June the 5th.
Right, sorry, yeah, 9 to 3, June the 5th. Encourage the children to sell lemonade or homemade cookies, and just, it's a great opportunity for us all to get outside and just kind of have some fun and put out our gently used items, you know, should be a lot of fun. And also, what is the City of Columbus news? Did we share that already, Chris?
Do we have any news from Catherine Call? Did she provide us anything this month?
Oh, no, she did not.
Okay.
So she's not here. So, okay. And any new business that anyone wants to bring forth?
One small announcement, and this may be of interest to Michael. I have 2 5-gallon water coolers that do belong to the Civic Association. They've been used at the festivals, and I've had them in my garage because waiting for the festival to come back. But Michael, I can get those to you, or if there's someone else who wants to take responsibility for having them, I'm glad to get them to whomever. But they are useful for events.
Why don't you bring them on June 4th, and I'll have them then for the Strawberry Juneteenth celebration. Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. You mean June 5th, Michael, the garage sale?
I'm having dinner with Steve and his wife on June 4th, so I'll just.
Oh, okay. 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 Just wanted to make sure that was clear. Okay, great. Any other old news, new news that anyone wants to talk about for the good of the Civic? Again, I apologize if I seem distracted, but I have a 1-year-old now, so who's walking, who every few minutes wants some affirmation that Tanner still sees her, and she tore up half of my puzzle on my table, so that's going to be interesting, getting that back together. But if no one has anything else, I thank you all for your time, your attention, and your comments, and your news. So it's been a wonderful meeting, and I think we're going to be able to meet outside next month, June. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a lot of fun, and I'm so glad you're all here. And of course, we will try to have Zoom if anyone is still feeling like they want to stay in, and we'll still Zoom it in, okay?
Tanya, I'll be in touch with you to get like an outdoor speaker purchased by then. So
absolutely. Okay, great.
What do you have, Ms. Dixon?
I'm sorry. Miss Susan, can you give me a call, please? You still there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes,
Anyone else? Anything else? All right. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.